So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for those kind words and the warm welcome. Um, I will depart from tradition today, seeing that we've got a nice, intimate audience. You tell me what you'd like to hear. What is it? If there's something pressing in your mind, something you feel that, you know what, hey, I wish I knew more about this topic. I wish I understood this, or we can find the reference or we can find the place. Anything bugging anyone? Ma, say.
I pronounce to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Ma.
Jai Shri Krishna, Prabhupada Pujay. I was trying to find out why only during Kartik we have to offer the lamb with tulsi tree. Why can't we always do it?
Nice question. Any other questions? Yeah? Siya?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Siya.
I wanted to know more about that mode. That mode, or we should say it while listening Kirtan.
What you wanted to hear? Say that again.
The mode we were talking about.
The mood.
earlier.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Exceptional. A nice question.
I wanted to ask about journeys to other planets.
Interesting.
Prabhupada wrote a book about that.
Yes.
It was quite easy.
Yes. Yes. True. Anybody else? Yeah, to just feel comfortable, this is not putting anybody in the spot and so on. Because, in the spiritual life and in our journey, we always come to certain points and crossroads where you feel, hey, I wish I had some clarity, or I have some doubt, or I don't have enough information about this, like that. And so we can explore it and we can just develop those things and we shed some light and we can, speak about it. Okay, we'll take those three questions for starters and then we'll go from there, right? Om Gyanatimirandhasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhube evacha patitanam pavinebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let's start by explaining the prayers I just said. Right? What those prayers mean and why we say it and so on. So the starting prayer was Om Agyana Timirandhasya. I was born in ignorance. Everyone's born in ignorance. Nobody is born in knowledge, right? Unless you're a pure devotee descending from the spiritual realm. Those are very rare souls. So we are born in ignorance. We're born in darkness. And by the mercy of my spiritual masters, the great teachers, the enlighteners, by their mercy, I have understood something. I have learned something. And it's like a torchlight in darkness. Somebody is pointing a torchlight and directing us and taking out of darkness towards light. So that's that prayer. That's the first prayer. Then the second prayer we said, Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. So here we are offering obeisances to the preceptors, the spiritual masters in this chain, all of them. Because, it's only by their grace that we have access to anything. If they were not merciful upon us, if they did not come down, if they did not, shed gallons of blood, toiling hard to impart this knowledge, what would our position be? So we are dependent on the benevolence, the mercy, the good-heartedness of these great persons. Because transcendental knowledge is not a matter of speculation. You can't say, I'll read a book, no matter how sophisticated that book is, and no matter how advanced that book is, it's not book knowledge. It's Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Transcendental knowledge descends from a higher platform to a lower, not the other way around. This is the flaw in the entire world at the moment. The flaw, if we had to put a pin and say, this is it, is that all knowledge at the moment is based firstly on our senses. What we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we touch, that's how we acquire knowledge, right? In the epistemology of knowledge, right? In the how knowledge is gleaned and understood, this is the first one, right? That we have direct perception. This is called direct perception. But we know that all our faculties are not 100%. We can only see so far. I have glasses to read. Just now pull up my glasses to read. I can't even read, yet the book's in front of me. And we can't hear. It's windy outside, but can anybody hear the wind? The trees I can see the trees are moving in the wind. So it's obviously rustling outside, but I can't hear it. Maybe somebody else with better hearing can hear it. So similarly, all our senses are limited. They're not perfect. So no matter how smart we may be and how good we may be, if we're relying on our senses to understand perfect knowledge, you're going to come short. Okay, so that's the first method. The second method, that's also flawed, is the entire scientific world is how their knowledge evolves and expands, is that they first postulate a hypothesis. That means they say, I think there's a relationship between A and B. That's a postulate, a hypothesis. They say, I think. Right? Then the next step they do is that let's formulate some kind of study or experiment to see whether what I am postulating is true or not. Right? So then they devise this experiment, they do the study, and then they collate all the data. They put all the data together. They analyze the data. Then after analyzing the data, it can be one of three things. It can either say, yes, there exists a relationship between A and B, or it can say, no, there's no relationship between A and B, or the third option is, angas, I don't know. I can't prove it, I can't disprove it. It's inconclusive, right? And this is how it goes on. But again, this is based on some smart brain. No matter how smart they are, they're using the same limited senses. So you'll be able to understand a little bit about matter, but you can't understand that which is beyond your frame of reference. Can't. And I'll give you a simple example. If somebody is exposed to a microscope, you see a new world. You see organisms and you see different life forms, different colors, different shapes, different characteristics. All these microbes and there are zillions of them. And they continue mutating and changing and all these things are happening. But the microscope is the instrument that sees it. I can remember the first time I went scuba diving. I was in Mauritius. Right? The very first time I went, and I was just fascinated. I was just fascinated by seeing what's under the water. Before that, what piqued my interest was going in a glass bottom boat. First time ever, Mauritians also. They have glass bottom boats. So you sit there in the boat and you can see, wow. And because it's like coral reefs and it's shallow and the water is crystal clear, you see another world. And when you go scuba diving, that's it. At the Great Barrier Reef, by the way, scuba diving in Australia. And it just exposed another world. Completely different things that you never thought exist. So what? The, the instrumentation allowed us that. If you're not exposed to those instruments, you've got no exposure to this other world. You'll think it doesn't exist. Or you may think, huh, somebody is fibbing, somebody is speaking some very nice, stories, fiction. That's what it appears. Phantasmagoria. That's how it is, right? So, this is a second method that is completely denounced by our acharyas in order to receive perfect knowledge. So the way that's recommended now. So what is the way? How do we get perfect knowledge? First, let me give you the analogy, and then I'll explain it in detail. The analogy is, it's mango season now, right? I'm also a lover of mangoes, by the way. So it's mango season now. By the way, down here at the bottom of all this mango orchard, my grandfather planted all those mango trees. We used to own those places. Yeah, hundreds of trees. As a kid, I used to be playing there. The group area stole the land from us. But that's what it is. Yeah. So now those youngsters are selling it on the road, on the M19 and so on. And I have a lot of fun buying from them, knowing where it's coming from. So now, if somebody goes on the mango tree and plucks the mango from the top and they give it to somebody on a branch that's a step or two lower, and then they pass it down to the next branch and next branch until somebody is at the bottom catches it. Nobody has interfered with that mango. That mango is intact, is as it is from there, from the tree straight to you at the bottom. Right? But if the first person said, hey, let me check this mango out, it takes a bite. The second person said, no, I don't like this mango, let's add some salt to it. Third person says, oh, put some curry powder. The fourth person says, no, I think I should pickle this mango. And so on. So they adulterate the entire process. It's just a mess. And this is what happens generally in most religious doctrines now, that they lack this fundamental principle, how knowledge, starting from the perfect source, is transmitted in a perfect way. So that when you receive it, it is perfect. So how do you know this? The verse is in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 34. So you're going to look at the verse. Chapter 4, text 34. Tad vidhi pranipatena paripasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam janinas tattva darshinaha. So that means, let's read the verse. We'll read the purport to that verse. And we can use that as a basis and we go on speaking, right? That'll be a lot of fun. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We know this book, right? What's it called?
Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita, good?
As it is.
Yes. Bhagavad Gita?
As it is.
As it is. Very important.
Yes.
Those small words, as it is. Two letters. 3 two-letter words. But it's critical. Srila Prabhupada added it to Bhagavad Gita as it is because people did that same thing I just told you about the mango story.
Yes.
They took the original mango and started
Gave their own versions.
their own speculative thought and everything went into it. Right? So, and they changed the original meaning. They change the original message, they change whatever it is to suit whoever. So Prabhupada made a point. He said, now, this is the first thing he did, by the way, to give us Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he made it a point to teach it as well, so that we don't get confused. We understand it as it was intended by Krishna, as Arjuna understood it. And so it's very important. You see, if you take any Bhagavad Gita today, some that was printed 100 years ago, 500 years, 1,000 years ago, you'll see every Sanskrit shloka to be exactly the same. That's the amazing thing about Bhagavad Gita, unlike most other religious works. Every single Bhagavad Gita. If you take it in English, you take one in Hindi, one in Tamil, one Telugu, one Marwadi. The Bhagavad Gita, the Sanskrit shlokas are exactly the same. Even versions that are not with these scholars. So where all the studies come from is in translation. Right? So that's the thing. Because we don't understand Sanskrit and we're not Sanskrit scholars, you can get mesmerized. But just being a scholar of Sanskrit in itself is not enough. You can be a very smart scholar of Sanskrit, but doesn't mean you'll understand lofty spiritual concepts if you are naive in that topic. Right? You have to be like a professor of spirituality, not just being a Sanskrit scholar. Then you'll get the essence of what Krishna is saying. And you don't have to simply be an academic, but you have to be a devotee of the Lord. Because nobody else will understand it. No non-devotee will ever understand Bhagavad Gita. And what's the proof of that? Although there are millions, not millions, there are hundreds of different versions of Bhagavad Gita, what's the proof? The proof is not one of them have produced a devotee of the Lord. Not one. But yet Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is has created millions throughout the world. That's the difference, because Krishna is speaking, right, in Bhagavad Gita. If you try to obfuscate, if you try to, cloud, you try to make Krishna some quaint and inconsequential personality in the background, then you're not going to get the essence. The first point to understand is that Krishna is God. God is speaking. And if you don't understand it, you don't accept it, suspend judgment until you get it. The key in spiritual life is to be non-judgmental. You can't start, but also it said, do not simply blindly follow. Don't go and just follow things just because the numbers are doing it. Right? I gave Sia that example the other day. I said, Sia, there are several billion flies around. You remember that example, right? And all those flies eat stool. So therefore, if you go by democratic principles, you should also eat stool because several billion can't be wrong. So that's the stupidity, right, of the logic. Okay? Good. So the first thing to understand is that God is speaking. Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. Almost on every page in Sanskrit it says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Uvacha means speaks or says. And Shri is honorific way of addressing Bhagavan. Parasara Muni has defined what God is. He says Bhagavan refers to God. That term, right? It's a Sanskrit term, refers to God. And what it means is that it's the person who has all the different opulences. That's Bhagavan. And he says, he's a person with unlimited opulences, but he placed them in different categories. So just to make it easy for us to understand. This is the first category is he's all powerful. He's the most powerful. And if you find somebody that fits this description, then that's God. Parasara Muni is the saint who says this, right? This is his way of helping us to understand and not get confused and not get waylaid by the charlatans. Yeah. So it's full of them. The world is full of them.
Yeah.
Actually, it's crazy that in the name of God, there are more demons than anywhere else, in any other things. Even in the bottle store, even in the pubs, there are fewer demons. Then there are those who are professing to be godly and those who are professing to be religious and those who are saying, I'm spiritual and this and that. Because it's big money today. Big money, serious money. You see it. People are going around in jets, owning their own jets in America. You see it. I'll give you several names and examples. Because people are, a lot of people are innocent and a lot of people are anxious because they're going through so much difficulties, trial, tribulation in their life. They're looking for answers, they're looking for solutions. So if you have some charismatic person, speaking flowery language, many people can get swayed. But you have to cut through the chase. You say, let's meet the criteria. Let's start. So that's the first step, right? Must be all powerful, be all knowledgeable, be all beautiful. Krishna is the most attractive person. Look at him and say, wow, he's beautiful. And he's completely renounced. His renunciation is beyond any comparison. That means he's detached from everything. Like me, I'm attached to my Mercedes Benz. Can't give it up. Right? So that's not renunciation. I'm attached to this, I'm attached to that. Krishna is not renounced. Completely renounced. Right? Okay. So like that. So that's the first step that you establish. What are the characteristics that make one God? And in simple language, we say, God has got no equal. What to speak of a superior? He doesn't even have an equal. No one is equal to God. So if you find somebody that has equals or superior, can't be God. Just can't be by definition. So you have to look further. You have to look beyond that. Okay? So now, the next step was going to be that you check out the people who are now presenting themselves. Are their lives getting transformed? If I tell you, you know what, we want to be truthful, but you see me gambling, you know there's a problem. Because gambling is the exact opposite of truthfulness. Gamblers cannot be truthful. That's what it is. Similarly, is the person celibate? You can check this out too. What's the standard? Right? So you look at the person's life getting transformed. Is he telling you that you should chant, but he doesn't chant, or she doesn't chant? When I say he, means she also, right? Please don't get involved in all that gender stuff now. Just understand it. So they have to practice what they preach. That's the first step for you. And if they give you a reference to say, somewhere in some scripture, at some time somebody said this, you know that is BS. You should run away. Right? If they say, they should provide you with this reference. And they may not know it offhand, but if you ask, they must check it up and give it to you. It's not for you to go and check everything out, like how I told you now, 434. You have to go and look at 434, Bhagavad Gita, see what it says. We can read it just now. Right? So reference. So a person, firstly, he practices what he preaches. What he says is his life is being transformed, and what he says he can back up with scriptural references. I remember once my wife was studying through UNISA, and they had an assignment. And I looked at what she had. She wanted some assistance, and I helped her. And I told her, you know what, you're going to ace this assignment. You'll ace it. I told her, that's it. She came back with the marks. She had 40%. I was shocked. So we phoned up the lecturer. Say, what happened? The lecturer says, what is this? Where you got all this information from? So then I gave him the references. I gave him the latest journals and the latest information on that topic. Of course, he was clueless. He didn't know about it. So he said, you should refer to the material that we had given you. Books written by himself. A lot of these professors now write their own books. They put their names and they want you to read and regurgitate that in exam. And this is now so-called knowledge. So you can see how you can just be taken for a ride. Throughout your entire life, you get taken for a ride. You get programmed. So you have to be thinking. And the same thing is applicable in spiritual life. Okay. And then I told you that that person should be displaying the signs of truthfulness, mercy, cleanliness, and what's the other one? Who knows?
Truthfulness.
Say?
Truthfulness.
No, that's the first one, ma. Truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, and
Devotion.
what?
Devotion.
Austerity.
Austerity.
You don't need devotion. Your devotion is internal. You can't tell like who's devoted. Somebody can put a big show. Oh, just look at me how I'm offering the lamb. It's a show. Right? And devotion is not an external show, it's an internal development. Okay? So yeah, austerity. They fast. They live simply. They only speak about Krishna. They speak only the truth. That's austerity of speech. Bhagavad Gita in chapter 16 will tell you all that. The different types of austerities of speech. Okay, so be on guard. This is like for your own protection. Just like how we tell our kids, hey, watch out for this, watch out for that. Somebody's offering you sweets in school, be careful, it may be laced with drugs, don't touch it. Somebody wants to give you a lift, run to your teacher and tell them, you know what, who's this? So be on guard. That's the first thing in spiritual life. Be on guard. Don't accept anything anyone says, no matter who is saying it. Even somebody is a big guru, even me, don't accept it. You go and scrutinize, go and interrogate it, go and check it out. And then once you are satisfied and you say, oh yes, then you take the next step. Then you take the next step. Be sure-footed, like think how we walk. We have 2 feet on the ground to start. Then we pick 1 foot up, making sure the other foot is on firm ground. And then we move it forward and place it down. And when that foot is firmly placed, then only we lift the other foot. You never pick the other foot without putting the other foot down. You're going to have problems. Right? And then you pick it up, and then you check it, slowly you move that foot and you place it where it's again firm ground. Terra firma. Don't be on shaky ground. Firm ground. Because remember, this is not a race. Spiritual life is not a race. We've already been through this process, I don't know how many millions of births already for you to get to this point where you're getting exposure to the holy name. The Maha Mantra, to be able to get exposure to the Maha Mantra is so rare. It's said that for someone who's chanced the Maha Mantra, even once, you have already performed every um, injunction of the Vedas. You've already fulfilled it, and you've already been to every point of pilgrimage. You've already been on pilgrimage to every holy site. Those are the only people who will be able to chant. So imagine what journey that has been already, just to come to the Maha Mantra. Why? Because the Maha Mantra is the crest jewel of the spiritual world. It's coming down from the spiritual world, and it gives you access to the spiritual world. The sound vibration. Now I'm going to tell you something very interesting. The material universe is made up of 5 elements. And everything is a combination of these 5 elements. It's earth, and in earth you got all the different things, right? A lot of chemicals and all in earth. It's fire. Fire is the energy that's behind everything. You know, if you look at like in our body, it'll come down to ATP. Anybody knows what that is? Adenosine triphosphate. That's where that is. Comes in the body, and that's what it's like lighting a match, and that's what allows for digestion, allows for the heat in the body, allows for everything to function, right? So that's fire, and there's fire everywhere. Like if you take a tree and you light it, it's fire, ignites. So fire is in the tree already. How can there be fire? It's already there. So it's earth, fire, there's water, and you can see in this universe, in this particular universe, it's around 70% of everything is water. Like you see the earth planet, how it is, 70% water. You look our bodies, all our bodies also got the same percentage, 70% water, right? But on the sun planet, for example, the predominant bodily component is fire. So 80-90% will be fire of the living entities on the sun planet. All right. So earth, water, fire, air. Air, without air we can't breathe, nothing can function. All the circulations in the body, and there are several circulations running in the body besides your blood circulation. You know, you got the air circulation that's running between like your lungs and everything else, and then there's other kinds of circulations, lymph circulations and other things, other more subtle energy circulations. Your chakras and all those things are based on that. Again, the basis for all those circulations is air. If it doesn't have air, it's going to just be solid. If there's no air, just be solid, just be a rock. Earth, water, fire, air. And the last one is, the 5th one is ether. Now, ether is interesting. Ether is like space. Like if you look at the space between 2 planets, if you're going a few thousand miles between them, it's like a vacuum. That space is like a vacuum. Okay? So there's nothing in there. So why did the Lord create such a huge amount of vacuum-like space everywhere? For one reason and one reason only. And that is so that sound can be transmitted through it. Everything in this universe is moving. And if something moves, then it means that it will create sound. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's audible, because audible sound is a very narrow range of the full spectrum of sound, just like light. What we can see is a very tiny range of it. So this sound is coming from the spiritual world, the original sound, Maha Mantra. And in this Maha Mantra is that sound, Om, is embedded in the Maha Mantra. It is said that every atom is vibrating with that sound, Om. Amazing. Like bees. If you listen carefully to bees humming and you focus, you'll hear the sound Om. See that? Okay. So now, that's the only reason. So God, in His infinite mercy, has given us all these escape routes. He's allowing us to come back to Him. That is compassion, that is love, that is kindness, that is he's got our backs, but we have to reciprocate. Okay, so let's read the verse we're speaking. Everybody will be so far.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't lost you. You can stop me anytime. Ask anything, and we'll speak about it. Yeah, that's right. It is 4:34. Okay, so chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita is called Transcendental Knowledge. Transcendental Knowledge. Very amazing chapter. So I already quoted the shloka, right? It is the same shloka, so you can go and read it if you like. We'll say what the translation reads. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire submissively. Now it's giving you the cues, the attitude. And render service unto him. So, how you gain their attention and mercy is to be submissive. Don't challenge. Because people who challenge and want to win a debate and score brownie points, you learn nothing. Imagine at university you're challenging your university professors. They will just, they'll ignore you after a very short while. But if you ask in a polite way, if you ask, with due consideration and respectfully, they're likely to tell you. They're likely to tell you what you don't know. Okay? The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So you're not getting somebody who's thinking, contemplating, imagining. They have physically realized, seen it, experienced it. They know. They're speaking from a perspective of knowledge. Right? So let's see this. Let's see what Prabhupada says in the purport, the illumination to this verse. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. Yes, we all agree. The Lord therefore advises us. This is Krishna speaking, by the way. So, perfect knowledge must start from the perfect source. Perfect knowledge cannot start from a dream. Somebody can't say, you know what, I had a dream and somebody told me this, and therefore now you got to listen to me. That's hogwash. Perfect knowledge has to be scrutinized from all points of view and be perfect. Must withstand scrutiny. Okay. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. So here's all the boxes to tick. It mentions now, it has to be in disciplic succession. That means an unbroken chain of spiritual masters and disciples. So the knowledge, for it to be transmitted intact, like we told you earlier, the mango story. Nobody changes it. The spiritual master passes it to his disciple. In due course of time, that disciple may become qualified to become a spiritual master, and then he takes on disciples, and then he passes it on. And this way, there's an unbroken chain of historically verifiable personalities. This is the key. You can't say, I imagine this to be right. It's a chain that you independently can verify. That's what it means when we say disciplic succession. And the caveat in this is that it must start from the Lord himself. See what he says? The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. So the starting point of the knowledge has to start from the perfect source. It can't start from some arbitrary point. It has to start from the Lord. And you must be able to verify it. Okay? No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. That means the spiritual master has to be a disciple of another spiritual master. If he is not a disciple, forget it. There's so many people like that. So many people on YouTube, you'll find them.
Yes.
Okay, we won't mention names, but you can see, do they fit this criteria? Do they meet this box to tick? If they do, fine. If they don't, then you run the risk of being cheated straight away. Then whose fault it is if you get cheated, if you get waylaid?
Your fault.
Of course, because Krishna is revealing what you should be doing, what you should be checking for. Right? If you want to get cheated, you'll get cheated. So you've got to be smart about this. That's why we've got intellect. You have to apply the intellect. Okay. The Lord is the original spiritual master. That's why he speaks Bhagavad Gita. So you know the point where it starts. You've got a point of reference. Starts from there. And a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. So that's the purpose of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is like a lens in a telescope. Now, when you take a telescope, you point it at a distant object. But with the lens inside, it brings a distant object sharply in focus close by. That's what a lens does. And the lens is transparent. That lens doesn't obscure your vision in any way, but enhances your vision of the spiritual reality. And therefore we say, the more lenses you have in the telescope, the more powerful it is. And therefore we want to be the servant of the servant of the servant. We don't approach God directly. That's a huge mistake. A lot of people say, oh, I'm to pray to God. Who are you? What do you know? You can't even approach let's say you can't even approach our president of the country. But I was going to give another example, but let's say you can't even approach the president of the country. You want to say, okay, I'll approach God directly. What's your qualification? Huh? And this guy's a rascal, and you can't approach him. But you want to approach God? No, you can't. You're bluffing yourself. You don't know. Like here, if you look in front of you, you see all different kinds of pictures and all different kinds of forms. But these are not all God. This is not all God. These are some of the servants of the Lord entrusted to do certain specific tasks in the universe. Like, for example, this person here on the tiger. Who knows who that is?
Durga.
Who is she?
She's the sister.
She's a?
She's in charge of this world, and she's also played the role of Krishna's sister in Bhagavad Gita when the story came up about the eighth child. When Kans took the child and did that, and then she broke away.
Okay, high grade answer, right? We'll elaborate on that answer and clarify it. In the material world, the personality in charge, whose responsibility it is to keep the inmates in prison. Like when you go to a prison, there are people there, big walls, big gates, and all the warders and all that are there to make sure you don't escape. And the only time you get parole or something, you're on good behavior, and you prove yourself that you are rehabilitated. You're no longer a delinquent. You have changed your ways, you have mended your bad habits, right? Then you'll get a kind of parole or you'll get released from the jail. Now this is Durga Mata. Durga. She, and it's a woman, she's in charge. She got actually the most powerful positions in the universe, the material universe, is run by women. She's one of them. Like, Minister of Defense, you could say. That's what it is. And the other powerful positions are things like Minister of Finance, Lakshmi Devi. It's like, so the Minister of Education and Music, Saraswati. These are all powerful personalities. They're not God, they're powerful personalities. Now, every one of them has a spiritual counterpart in the spiritual world, an eternal part, right? And they have a separate role in the spiritual world. In the material world, you may have heard the term Maya before. Maya actually means illusion, that which is not, right? So in the material world, she is known as Mahamaya, because she's there, she deludes all of us. If you think, or we think, we can enjoy separately from Krishna. We think that this world is meant for our pleasure and satisfaction, and we are here to exploit everything for just to make me happy. It's all about me and mine, right? That's the illusion. Therefore she's known as Mahamaya. But in the spiritual world, the same personality has a counterpart who doesn't look anything like this, right? It's called Yogamaya. And that's what he was referring to now. And her responsibility in the spiritual world is to make all the tasteful arrangements that Krishna may want. Like, for example, if Krishna says, I want to have a picnic. I feel like that I should have a picnic. She just sucks it out like that. There's a nice difference. In the material world, time is marching relentlessly onwards. In the spiritual world, time is constant. It's the timeless realm. There's no time. So therefore, people don't die. They don't get old. They don't get decrepit. They don't get disease. They don't get sick. There's no time. Time is constant. It's a timeless realm. But in the material realm, you have time is marching on, but we appear like we're constant here. Like we're all seated here for so long, we haven't moved much. This place hasn't gone somewhere else. Although it's going, but you don't feel it. You look like you're seated here. But in the spiritual world, it's the obverse. Time is constant, but the circumstances change like that. Based on Krishna's desire, and Yogamaya is the script writer and the program director. Just directs the scenes, just changes everything. Or like Krishna wants to have a picnic, then the means like, okay, you need 50 different varieties of different things has to be there. So just like that, because she knows Krishna's desire. So that's her role. So we need just to give some further clarification about who this person is in the spiritual world. So just to tell you that not everything you see is God. God is part. God's energy is there to make it possible, but don't think everything is God. You are not God. I am not God. God is in us and is present in us as the Paramatma, the super soul. But we are never God. We never was God, nor will we become God. Okay. Let's continue reading. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. They manufacture their own nonsense. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmantu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books or knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. We made that point earlier, right? Not just book knowledge. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive this knowledge. Imagine, okay, I'll give you my example. I'm a doctor, right? There's so many textbooks on medicine. But you think without going to medical school, you can become a doctor?
No.
Even though I may master all the books. You can't. You can only be taught by other doctors. Same with spiritual life. You can't make any advancement, zero advancement, without the mercy of other devotees. We are completely dependent on devotees for every step of our progress. Why? Because devotee is called Bhakta. And a Bhakta has bhakti, devotion. Okay? Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender. Be submissive, surrender. One should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant. Whatever they need, be humble, just do the menial stuff. Without false prestige. No, I'm not some big shot. Just go there like, cap in hand. Leave all your stuff outside. Oh, I got half dozen degrees. I come from this prominent family. I have so much money in the bank. Oh, this and that. Those things are disqualifications actually in spiritual life. So you leave your baggage outside before you approach such personalities. Then only you are adopting the right attitude in which to receive the mercy. The secret is how to receive. The information is available. These personalities traverse the universe, giving of themselves. But we have to learn the art of how to receive it. And this verse is giving us the details, giving all the tips how we should be in order to receive that mercy. Satisfying a self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Enquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Isn't that sweet? Be submissive, but you inquire. You don't be dumb. Don't be submissive, but say nothing and do nothing and ask no questions. How they say, a fool is only recognized when they open the mouth, right? Don't be afraid to be recognized as a fool. Because in front of somebody who's superior to you, who's vastly more knowledgeable, being a fool is a good thing, because then you're going to learn. But if you go to that person and act like, you know what, I'm not a fool, I'm a smart aleck, I know everything, you learn nothing. Yes or yes? There's only options. It's yes or yes. Those are only two options. Okay. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. So, what's the qualification? Genuineness. Be genuine. Right? You be serious and you be sincere. Be serious and you sincere. Actually, there's a nice statement by Lord Krishna. Krishna tells Arjuna that if someone utters my name once in all seriousness and sincerity. His name is forever, his name now, the person who uttered my name, Krishna is saying, his name is forever embedded in my heart. So imagine that. Imagine have your name embedded in Krishna's heart. He's telling in his heart. So that means how much love he has. Never forget you. Never forget you. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. Remember, as you are testing and checking out the spiritual master, he is similarly doing that to you. Because he doesn't want to waste his time with people who are not serious. So he's going to test you. So he'll give you some tasks to do and see how sincere and how you do those tasks. Maybe a simple thing. Give me a glass of water. And he's checking you out. Right? Yeah. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So don't ask questions that have no meaning, that have no value in your life. So you ask a question that is relevant for you, like how I asked you at the beginning. What you want to ask. Ask a few people are asking. Okay, this is concerning me. Otherwise, you can ask me. Between that star there and that star there, what's the distance? Useless. How many grains of sand are there on Durban beachfront? Useless. Even if somebody knows and takes the effort about calculating, how is that of value? Don't waste your time, So that's what it's saying. Okay. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. So if you don't understand what the spiritual master is saying, don't act like you understood it. Ask. Get clarification. Get detailed. Even if you're asking 50 times, as long as you're genuine, as long as you're sincere and you're serious, he will continue explaining and enlightening you and giving you the mercy by which you can receive that information. Now, this is a key for you to get. Not everyone can understand everything. Simple, right? That's easy. We know that. People are of different levels. But when it comes to spiritual life, there are two tracks. The analogy is two tracks of a railway line. The train will only go as far as the shorter line,
Yes.
the track. Right? The one line can be 1 mile, 1 kilometer longer. But I have to derail when it reaches the shorter line. Right? So these two things, these two tracks of the railway line are, in spiritual life, are, say, the one is, say,
endeavor and mercy.
Yeah, that's from Damodar Rastaka praise now. But it's there, it's true.
Sincerity.
Yes.
Guru.
No.
Humility.
Okay. The first is a philosophical understanding in this analogy. You're not giving right answers, but it's for other things, right? But for this, in this analogy, the first is philosophical understanding. So that means you must continually read, study, ask questions. You have to do that. That's the process. That's how you learn anything.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first one, philosophical understanding. And the second line of the railway track is practice. If you're not practicing the process and you know a lot, you read the books and all, you'll really go as far as the shorter line. You'll always be limited by the shorter line in the railway track. Got it? So therefore, both things go hand in glove in order for you to make rapid spiritual progress. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards his disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries become perfect. Sweet, huh? Isn't it nice? Wow. This is a one paragraph purport, but it's so packed with transcendental gems that every word in it is pregnant with meaning. Full. It's full. Yeah. So this is a key verse. It's a fulcrum in our spiritual life. Everything else rests on it. Tips your balance. Get it right, and you're on your way. If you don't have this, you're just rudderless in a stormy ocean. Imagine a boat which got no rudder. You know what's a rudder, right? The rudder is the thing in the back of the boat that they use to steer the boat. It guides it. But if that is broken or it's fallen off, so the boat is at the mercy of the winds and the oceans and the currents and the storms and so on. You're just aimlessly drifting in this universe and aimlessly wasting our precious life, the time, the breaths. Yeah. Life is measured by the number of breaths we take, not seconds, not years, but the number of breaths. So each time you're wasting your breaths. Okay, now let's get into answering some of those questions. Mataji asked, why should we only offer lambs during the month of Kartik? Why? Prabhuji? Say? More? Auspicious. Okay, so when it's less auspicious, you don't want it. You don't want it. No. Mataji is right. We offer lamb every day in Aarti. Every day we're doing Aarti, ma.
Yes.
And several times a day, not just once. Every day we do Aarti. Aarti means offering the lambs. You see, just now when I have an Aarti ceremony, it's offering lambs. So, during this month, it's like a push start. You know when somebody's engine is flat, battery is flat, what do? We give a joke, we push, 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 and somebody will clutch and they'll hit the accelerator, and it'll kick and it'll start. Right? That's what we do. So this is now a kickstart for everyone, all of us. Use this opportunity to turbocharge our spiritual life. Okay. So Madhuri, you got the answer. Right? Clear? Good. Okay. Then Sia asked a nice question. Sia asked, like, what should our mood be in Kirtan? What should our mood be in Kirtan? Okay. There are 9 limbs of devotional service. 9 limbs. That means 9 different things that one can do. The first is hearing, Shravanam. What we're doing now is devotional service. People may not know it, that this is devotion. Through this, your devotion will increase. When one hears attentively in classes which are discussing topics about the Supreme Lord and his devotees, then our devotions increase. 3:25:25. Srimad Bhagavatam, remember this. 3:25:25. Go and check it out. Satan prasangan mama vij samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana katha. This beautiful shloka is saying that when one hears topics about the Lord, His name, His form, His fame, His paraphernalia, His pastimes, then it is like the elixir, rasayana. It's the medicine, the spiritual tonic that nourishes the soul. And from this, you get three things happen, and that's in the last line of the shloka. I don't quote too much Sanskrit, but I'll just give you the meaning. In the last line it says, Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir. These things follow in the exact same sequence. That one develops faith, firstly. And remember, faith is essential in spiritual life. The difference between advanced devotees and new devotees is just simply the level of their faith. That's it. So this entire process is about deepening our faith, about making our faith stronger. So that's the first thing happens. The second thing is ratir. One starts to develop taste. One starts to find these things exciting and relishable and wonderful. Things that you love becomes, I want to do more of it. We always want to do more of things that we like. And things that we hate, we want to stay away from. So, Shraddha Ratir Bhakti, pure devotion, manifests. So all comes from the Shravana, hearing. Right? Now, hearing is in everything in spiritual life. When we chant the Maha Mantra, we're hearing the Maha Mantra. When I'm speaking, I'm also hearing what I'm saying. It's in my mind, I'm hearing with my mind. I'm not only hearing with my ears, but I'm thinking about it and I'm speaking, right? So in you are hearing about it and you're processing that information in different ways. And when you hear this and you repeat it, that is called kirtan. When you hear bona fide information from the right sources, we're speaking for Prabhupada, not me. I'm just representing. I can't add my own 2 cents to anything. It has to be from bona fide scripture. Then that becomes kirtan. When you repeat what you have heard. So the attitude now. Because we are dealing with transcendental words, sounds, literature, subject matter. Because it's transcendental, our attitude is always reverential. Our attitude is always one of extreme gratitude. Because we know there's nothing that we have done or nothing that we can do to deserve what we're getting. We can't pay for this. We can't do anything. It's beyond anything. This is causeless mercy. It's mercy coming down from a higher platform to us. We have no eligibility for it. We have no prior qualifications. Actually, we don't even deserve it. So in Kirtan, this is the key of what the mood is. The mood in Kirtan is not about how you're going to impress others. Oh, just see how fancy I can hit the beats. Just see how I dance. Just check my moves out. Not about you at all. This is an act of worship. I told you there's 9 limbs. There's 9 limbs. These are all acts of worship. The third one is smarana, to remember. First is hear, second is repeat, kirtanam. Third is smaranam, to remember. So you don't forget what you heard. And you've got to go a couple references I gave you. And take it in small steps. You don't have to read the whole book cover to cover. Or read one shloka a day. One. And contemplate on it. See Krishna speaking to you. When you look at this and you read it, Krishna is speaking to me. He's not speaking to a general audience in the world. He's speaking to you specifically. That is a secret in spiritual subject matter, to how to study it and how to get the best out of it. You personalize the information. You take it and you said, hey, what does this mean to me? You interrogate it. How do I apply this? Where am I short? Or where am I, unclear about things? So you interrogate the information. Okay, then remembrance. The third one is smarana, remembrance. Just by remembering is a spiritual activity. You remember the ultimate consideration of everything is what happens at the point of death. We want to purify our consciousness to such a point that there's nothing but spiritual subject matter in our minds. Everything is really spiritual. There's no material at all. So that's what you have to remember. Else you can't get to that point. Remember Krishna and never forget him. That means must forget him. So you have to remember. Else you will forget. Okay? Good. Okay, so I'll leave it at that 3. There's 6 more to that. You can check it out. Or you can come and ask me later also what you found, what you didn't find, and so on. But there's 9 limbs. So to answer your question, is that clear, Siyabonga?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Third question was from you. You asked a question.
And generally speaking about the easy journey to other planets.
Oh, yes, that's right. See, at that time, when Prabhupada released this book, the whole world was enamored by the Americans purportedly having gone to the moon. I put that in italics, right? Because they didn't. Right? There's evidence, clear evidence now, that the rock samples they brought back from them are the same as in the Nevada desert. The same rock. And how is it that, they planted a flag in what they call the Sea of Tranquility, and the flag, and they have satellites now, which are so powerful that can record, that can identify the number on your post box, but can't pick that flag up. And things like that, right? There's a whole host. I don't get involved, but just to tell you, it's a big flip. It's a hoax. These guys, the spin doctors responsible for these things is to divert attention from the calamities that are going on in real life. And usually it's economic calamity. So they try to create something like 9/11. They create something. So they've got reason to invade other countries and reason to get their military, their old, defunct and outdated, antiquated military hardware to get rid of it. If you don't have war, you got no use for it. So you have to create wars so that you can get rid of the old stuff.
Test the new stuff.
Yes, and you keep the new stuff. So that in future you can show people why they might need the new stuff now. And you continue making new stuff. Because the biggest industry in the world today is the arms industry, by far. The biggest in the world. Okay, so that's the background of what was happening, right? So Prabhupada said, this is no big deal. You think you want to go to the moon? What's moon? I can take you to any planet you want. And it gives you an elaborate description. In each of the universes, there are 14 planetary systems. 14. And the Earth planetary system is in the middle. Right? There are 6 below and 7 higher. So it's 14 all total. And each of the planetary systems has its own characteristics. There are even planetary systems that are subterranean, underwater. Especially the demonic, where the demons reside. There are a few of those. Atala, Sutala, Patala, they're the names of those systems, where they are. And the higher planetary systems, you've got places where demigods reside, you've got places where the rishis, the great saints reside. They busy with meditation, there are things, and generally, people who don't know this, they refer to them as heaven. They think those are heavenly places, and the others are hellish places. So that's how they refer to those planetary systems. But heaven and hell is still part of the material universe. Nothing to do with spirituality. Zero. So if you want to go there, easy to go. Like how you can buy a ticket and go to Dubai, we'll show you how you can go to need planetary system. But when you learn and you understand that when your pious credits, which is the currency that's needed to go to other planetary systems, when your pious credits, the things that you've done good and so on, when they are utilized, when they are used up, then you have to come and take birth again on this planet, on the earth planet. So now the smart people are saying, hey, why should I go there? If it means that I'm going to go there temporarily and still come back here. Why? No point. Rather for me, tell me how I can go out of this place. Right? I don't want to be entrapped by the entire cycle of birth and death that's playing itself out in different guises throughout the material creation, spanning 8,400,000 different species of life. So why should I come back in my next life like a pig? So better now, let me not behave like a pig in this life. You have people like say that, right? Oh, she's an angel. Because her behavior, attitude, what she does is angelic. So those people go higher. So as you sow,
So shall you reap.
plant lemons and you think mangoes you'll get. Plant lemons, what you'll get?
Lemon.
Yes. So now you're going to take stock. What are you planting? You are planting mangoes. You plant the right stuff. You can nurture the right stuff. You're going to make sure you're looking after it. You know, watering it, giving it sunlight. And what is this watering and sunlight process? What's the equivalent? It's hearing and chanting. Hearing and chanting is the watering and the sunlight for the tree of bhakti in your heart. So we're making our field, the heart, the field, making it a fertile ground in which bhakti can blossom. Because through bhakti, Krishna becomes completely under the sway of the devotee. So easy journey to other planetary systems is there, available. Like everything else, you know, it's a science. Like the information is available about how you can get things from another place. Like for example, let's say you want to have durian. You know what's durian? Anybody know durian?
It's a fruit.
Yes, it's said to be the best fruit in the world, right? The tastiest fruit in the world. It's said to be that, right? Durian. But once you once you open it, you make sure you eat it. Otherwise, it stinks. That smell is so strong you can smell it for like about 500 meters away. It's called durian, right? So let's say you want to eat this durian, 9 cities as a gift. Anima, Lagima, Mahima, all these different things. Anima means becoming as lighter than the lightest. So they become feather light, they can float to go anywhere. Lagima become heavier than the heaviest. Small person can just be there, you can't move him. Just like that. So there's all these different cities, right? And Mother Sita bestowed all these cities to Hanumanji at that point, just in appreciation of him being the bearer of such wonderful news. That Lord Ram is on his way, and this is his ring. Right? You remember that's when that pastime occurred. This is Diwali now. Diwali is a 5-day festival, action-packed. It's on this day that we had the Damodar Leela, the lamp Mataji was talking about. We're offering it to baby Krishna when Krishna got tied by his mother. Imagine that. The Lord, who is known as Mukunda, is the liberator. The person who awards liberation gets tied up. He's tied by the ropes of love. Nobody can tie the Lord. The Lord literatures pinned it down. So that
We have Guru Puja, and we have the Aarti, and we have
he didn't compose them. He's not the author of it. He simply recited it, and Ganeshji was the scribe. Ganesh is here.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
And
Ganesh
what-
is right here. So he's a scribe. He wrote it down. So so those instructions, Srila Prabhupada is saying, those exact same instructions that Narad has given to Vyasadeva and his disciples are exactly the same instructions that we are receiving from our present day spiritual masters. So when Prabhupada is saying this, he is referring to his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this again is glorifying the Guru Parampara and showing how the message is transmitted exactly intact. So if you're receiving the message today, it is as if you're receiving it directly from Narad Muni or directly from Krishna. Same words. One day, Mother Urmila Devi says this wonderful transcendental story. This was in London in 1969. Prabhupada had a program in an auditorium. And whilst the program was happening, and the format of the program was in the start of the kirtan, Prabhupada will give a class, and after that, there'll be a short kirtan again. Right? So, Urmila Devi was leading the second kirtan, playing harmonium. And suddenly, Prabhupada, with a booming voice on the microphone, started to say, Narada Muni Vajay Vina. And he's singing. And people are wondering, what you saying? Radhika Ramana Name. And Prabhupada is gesturing to Urmila, continue. She's leading Mahamantra, right? Kirtan. And Prabhupada is repeating this one line over and over again. Devotees have never heard anything like this before. They never heard this. By the way, this is the first stanza of from a prayer by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. What it means is that when Narada Muni plays his veena, he got his own stringed instrument, right? The veena. Veena is very similar to a sitar, but it got fewer strings, right? So while he plays the veena, then the holy name manifests in person. That's what this line means. Imagine that. Imagine the holy name manifesting. Nam Prabhu is coming himself. Not just the name, the personality. So the next day, not the next day, after the kirtan, and during the kirtan, by the way, there was some electric atmosphere in the place. All the devotees got off the stage and they started jumping and dancing, and they started to go round and round the auditorium with all the guests. It was a wild scene. So after that, Urmila Mataji asked Prabhupada, what happened? She never understood what happened. And then Prabhupada said, did you not see? Narada Muni is coming. Narada Muni is coming. And so Prabhupada was offering his respects to him whilst the Mahamantra was playing. That means that the Mahamantra, the Nam Prabhu himself was in that kirtan. Imagine that. Amazing, right? At another time in Berry Place in London, Prabhupada gave an instruction that you should have an asan on the altar. because Narad Muni is regularly coming and participating in the kirtan. Imagine that. And when we do worship, I mean, ISKCON has one of the highest standards of worship. If you look at our temples, the standard of worship, nobody can match it. You see that? No other temple matches it. Our standard of deity worship is, the way they dress the deities, the way they decorate the deities, the 5 offerings that take place every day, the abhisheks that goes into it, and all the different offerings from the morning to the evening, all the different types of offerings, and the artis and the food offerings as well. The standard is very high. Where's the standard coming from? Narada Pancharatras. There are books given by Narada Muni. So it is quite befitting that Prabhupada, who is worshipping the deities based on the instructions of Narada Muni, is now placing Narada Muni on the same altar and worshipping him. How sweet is that? Yeah, this is Narada Muni, transcendental spaceman, amazing person. Once he was traveling in the forest and he saw some animals. And those animals were, some of the limbs, they were dismembered, that was cut off. Some of them were stabbed and they were bleeding. And the animals were in severe pain and discomfort. And as he was going along, he came across a hunter who was doing this. And Narada Muni was saying, no, why are you doing this? If you are to eat meat, kill the animal. But why are you half killing the animal and torturing the animals? He said, no, that's how I like to do it. That's, my style. This is how I am, gung-ho, and I subjugate them with my power and this. And then Narada Muni told him that, why are you doing this? He said, no, I want to feed my family. I look after my family. It's my duty to feed my family. Then he said, Narada Muni tells him, this hunter, whose name is Mrigari, says, go and ask your family if they will take at least part of your karma for the bad things, because this bad actions got bad results, right? So you're going to get bad karma for this. And because you're doing it for their benefit, you're feeding them, ask them if they will share some of the karma. They don't, not all, just some of the karma. So he goes to his wife, Mrigari the hunter, and says, I met this strange-looking spaceman, He introduced himself as Narada Muni and he told me this. And I told him, definitely, my wife and all, they'll be happy to, share, because after all, they're eating with me. And his wife said, what? You killed the animal. Why must I suffer for you killing the animal? You take the karma. I'm not prepared to take the karma. So he goes back the next day and meets Narada Muni in the forest. And tells Narada Muni, oh, I didn't realize what a sinful life I was existing. Please guide me, direct me. And he became his disciple. At a later stage, Narada Muni was accompanied by, I think it was Lord Shiva, and he saw that this hunter had a very weird gait, like he's tiptoeing one side and jumps on another side, jumps this way, jumps. It's like that, very awkward and jerky motions, jumping. So they approach him and say, hey, what kind of malady you got? What's wrong with you? What happened? What kind of illness you got? And he is saying, no. I can see there are some ants here. And I'm now being very cautious not to step on an ant. So just see from where to where. And this Migrari in his next life became who? Became Valmiki, the author, writer of the Ramayana. The original Ramayana and we're getting to Diwali now, is authored by Valmiki. The amazing thing about the Ramayana that Valmiki authored. Tulsidas has written a commentary on the Ramayana and made the Ramayana available in Devanagari script for the local population who are not sophisticated or learned, and it simplified it. But the original Ramayana is Valmiki, right? Valmiki Ramayana. Now the amazing thing about Valmiki is, see the benediction that Narad Muni afforded him, right? I'll end on that point, although I can tell you many more nice stories, but just hear this. Valmiki was writing the Ramayana before it occurred. You heard right. Most historical account like Mahabharata and all is recorded after the event. But Valmiki was writing what was about to happen. So just see his Trikala Drishti, that means his ability to see into the future. He was able to see the future and record the future before it occurred. This is Valmiki. So that's why they say, Mukam karoti vachalam, pangor langayate giri, jat kripa tamham vande, Shri Guru dinatarinam. Says, when one receives the mercy of a bona fide spiritual master, then a layman can climb a mountain. And a dumb person can speak eloquent poetry. His mercy. Spiritual master is transcendental, can do anything. Makes the impossible possible. This is example Narad Muni displayed. And the same thing happens in the pastime in Damodar Leela. Right? We're going to recite that just now, right? That 7th verse. Kuveratma jo padda murtvaiva jadvat tvaya mujito bhakti bhajo krito cha tata prema bhaktim swakam priyacha namoksha graho misti damodareha. In the 7th verse, saying, just as Narad Muni afforded those two sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvara, the opportunity to be delivered by Krishna and to get pure devotional service. Satyavrata Muni, in a conversation with Sonaka Rishi and Narad Muni, Satyavrata Muni is saying that he's praying that I want that same opportunity for Prema Bhakti, pure devotional service. Just like that. It's praying. So that's a prayer. Damodar Rastakam is a prayer. The central thing about Damodar Rastakam is in every verse, it is glorifying the process of bhakti. Every shloka is written. You read it, you see it. Every shloka is glorifying bhakti, right? And the process of bhakti. And here, you can only get bhakti from a Bhakta. You can't get it from Krishna. Although it's praying to Krishna, praying to Lord Damodar, that you give me the same prema bhakti as Narad Muni has given to this. So how are you going to get it? By the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets Krishna, but by the mercy of Krishna, one gets the spiritual master. So this is the prayer, that please send me a bona fide spiritual master. Please give me the opportunity for pure devotional service. That's the prayer. That's in the 7th verse. So, satisfied? Okay, thank you. Okay. Grandharaj.